My sister abandoned her baby on my doorstep and vanished, while my parents told me, "She's your responsibility now." A decade later, they dragged me to court for custody, saying I kept them apart. But when I passed the judge's sealed file, his eyes went wide. Then he said, "Do they realize what you're holding?" I just nodded and prepared to speak. Get comfortable, because this story about how I fought for the daughter of my heart will show you what true family really means. My name is Natalie, I'm 34, and before Lily came into my life, everything felt perfect. I was a pediatric nurse at Memorial Hospital, just promoted to head nurse, deeply in love with my boyfriend Mark, an architect. We were talking about moving in together. Life was following the perfect timeline I'd mapped out for myself. That all shattered on a rainy Tuesday night in October. I'd just gotten home from a brutal 12-hour shift, kicked off my shoes, and settled onto the couch with a glass of wine and some takeout. Then, the doorbell rang. It was late, almost 9:30. I nearly ignored it, thinking it was a wrong address. But it rang again, more insistently. I sighed, got up, and opened the door. What I found on my welcome mat changed my entire existence. A car seat, covered with a thin blanket, shielding it from the rain. When I pulled the blanket back, a tiny, sleeping baby girl, maybe 3 months old, with rosy cheeks and dark hair, just like my sister Amanda. Tucked into the side of the car seat was a folded note, in Amanda's unmistakable handwriting. Her name is Lily. I cannot do this. Take care of her. I am sorry. That was it. 7 words that ripped my perfect timeline to shreds. I looked frantically up and down the street, but Amanda was gone. Her phone went straight to voicemail. My hands shaking, I brought Lily inside. She was sleeping peacefully, utterly unaware her mother had just abandoned her. My first frantic call was to my parents. Their response, "It still makes my stomach churn." "We told her not to have that baby," my mother said, her voice like ice. "She made her choice, and now she's running away from it." Typical Amanda. Panic was rising in my throat. But what should I do? I pleaded. I can't just keep a baby. I don't know anything about caring for an infant. My father's voice was firm, unforgiving. "She is your burden now, Natalie. We are done cleaning up after Amanda. We are too old for this." I tried to argue, "She left her with me, not you. She's your granddaughter. And we never asked to be grandparents," my mother shot back, "especially not to the child of whatever random man Amanda hooked up with." They hung up. Just like that. They refused to come over, refused to offer any help. I sat on my couch, staring at this tiny, innocent creature, completely, utterly overwhelmed. Lily woke up soon after, her little face scrunching into a hungry cry that sent me into a full-blown panic. I had nothing. No formula, no diapers, nothing. I called Mark, hoping he could bring some supplies. His reaction was almost as shocking as my parents'. "A baby? Your sister just dumped her kid on you? That's insane, Natalie. You need to call social services." I stared at the phone. I can't just call social services in the middle of the night. She's my niece. Please, just go to the 24-hour store and get some formula and diapers. He was cold, distant. "This is not our problem. This is exactly the kind of drama your sister always creates. Don't get pulled into it." I hung up, a chilling realization settling in. I was completely, terrifyingly alone. I carefully placed Lily back in her car seat and drove to the nearest 24-hour supermarket, still in my scrubs. I wandered the baby aisles, frantically Googling formula for 3-month-old and diaper size. A kind, elderly woman working the night shift, seeing the desperation in my eyes, helped me gather the essentials, her face full of genuine concern. That first night was a blur. Crying, formula temperature checks, diaper changes. I called into work the next morning, requesting emergency family leave, something I'd never done in 5 years. My supervisor, knowing my reliable track record, granted me 2 weeks without question. I filed a police report, but the officers weren't concerned. No crime, they said. Amanda wasn't missing, she had chosen to leave her child with family. They took my information but warned me not to expect much. I also called a family lawyer, who explained I'd need temporary guardianship, a process that would take time and a lot of money. Those first days were a fog of conflicting emotions. I was furious at Amanda for abandoning her child, for putting me in this impossible position, for disappearing without a trace. But every single time I looked at Lily, with her tiny fingers and trusting eyes, my anger melted into a fierce, protective love. She was innocent, completely dependent on someone. That first night, I made a makeshift crib from a drawer lined with blankets and slept on the couch beside her, waking every few hours to her hungry cries. As I fed her in the quiet darkness, watching her tiny face relax, I whispered a promise I would keep for the next decade. I don't know what happened with your mom, but I'm here now. I will figure this out. You are safe with me. Within 2 weeks, it was crystal clear Amanda wasn't coming back anytime soon. I had to make serious changes. My 1-bedroom apartment was too small. I found a 2-bedroom place closer to the hospital, stretching my budget to its breaking point. Moving costs, baby furniture, reduced work hours, my savings took a massive hit. But I was determined to create stability for Lily. Becoming an instant mother was nothing like I imagined. No preparation, no books, no nursery. I learned through pure necessity, often calling the pediatric nurses I worked with for advice. My nursing background helped with the medical stuff, but nothing prepared me for the emotional and logistical challenges of sudden, single parenthood. My career advancement, which I'd worked so hard for, was put on indefinite hold. The legal process for temporary guardianship was extensive and expensive. Without Amanda present to formally transfer custody, everything took twice as long. I was fingerprinted. My home was inspected. My entire life scrutinized. Meanwhile, my relationship with Mark crumbled. His reluctance turned into resentment. I didn't sign up to date a single mom, he said during one of our increasingly frequent arguments. We had plans, Natalie. Travel, buying a house, building our careers. How does any of that happen now? Life happens, I told him. Plans change. What was I supposed to do? Put her in foster care? Maybe that would have been better for everyone, he muttered. That was the end. I packed his things and told him not to contact me again. Losing him hurt, but nowhere near as much as his suggestion that I should have abandoned Lily. His true character had revealed itself. My parents made rare appearances during that first year, always brief, always critical. My mother would eye my apartment with thinly veiled disapproval, commenting on how tired I looked, how cluttered the space was. She'd hold Lily awkwardly, as if she might break, never offering to change a diaper. You're letting her cry too much, she'd say. But I suppose you don't know any better. My father rarely engaged with Lily at all, keeping his distance. Has anyone heard from Amanda? He'd ask, his voice tight with anger. It was the only time he showed any emotion about the situation. If I had heard from Amanda, you would be the first to know, I'd reply, knowing it was a lie. My parents had written off both their daughters and their granddaughter in one phone call. Thankfully, I found support elsewhere. My coworkers threw a baby shower. My next-door neighbor, Mrs. Santiago, became a surrogate grandmother, offering to watch Lily, teaching me her secret technique for soothing colicky babies. Around month 3, I hired a private investigator with money I couldn't really spare. He found a record of Amanda working in a San Diego restaurant for a few weeks, then the trail went cold. A relief and a heartbreak, she was alive, but still choosing to stay away. Despite the chaos, Lily thrived. She rolled over, sat up, crawled, and spoke her first word, Nana. Each milestone was celebrated. I created a memory box, filling it with photos, videos, and Amanda's original note. Lily's first birthday wasn't elaborate, but Mrs. Santiago baked a cake, my friend from work brought balloons, and Lily smashed frosting all over her face while everyone cheered. My parents declined, claiming a prior commitment. As I tucked Lily into her proper crib that night, in her own room decorated with second-hand furniture, I realized something profound. Despite all the hardship, stress, and sacrifice, I couldn't imagine my life without her. This child, who arrived as a responsibility, had become the absolute center of my world. I wasn't just caring for her out of obligation, I loved her fiercely, completely, as if she had been mine from the beginning. "Happy birthday, sweet girl," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "We made it through our first year. Here's to many more." 5 years passed in a blink. Lily started kindergarten, a milestone filled with pride and nostalgia. Our mornings were a choreographed dance. Lily was an early riser, waking me with a stuffed bunny named Hoppy and a stream of questions. "Nana, is today library day? Can I wear my star shoes? Will you make pancakes with blueberry smiles?" I'd transitioned to a school nurse position, different from Lily's school, for family-friendly hours and holidays off. My career ambitions had shifted from climbing hospital hierarchies to finding stability and balance for our little family of 2. Our apartment became a true home, walls covered with Lily's artwork and photographs. Her personality blossomed, curious, resilient, creative. We had our traditions: Friday movie nights, Sunday park visits. These simple rituals created the stability children crave, especially after early disruption. As Lily grew, her questions about her origins became more frequent. I was always truthful, age-appropriately explaining that her mother was my sister, who hadn't been ready to be a mommy. "Where is she now?" Lily would ask. "I don't know exactly," I'd answer honestly, "but she made sure you came to me, because she knew I would love you very much." To help her understand, I made a storybook explaining that families come in all shapes and sizes. Some with aunts who love them more than anything. My parents remained distant, visiting 3 or 4 times a year, always with the same tension. My mother brought age-inappropriate gifts, showing how little she knew her granddaughter. "She should be in ballet by now," my mother would comment. My father stayed emotionally disengaged, his anger at Amanda hardening into a general coldness towards all of us. Lily, perceptive, grew quiet during their visits. My personal life stayed on hold. Dating as a single mom, in my unique situation, felt impossible. I chose to focus on Lily. Our support network continued to grow, a single parents group, friends from work whose children became Lily's chosen family. Financial stability was a constant struggle. I took a second job, telehealth nursing after Lily was asleep, to build a college fund. It meant less sleep, careful budgeting, but peace of mind. After years, we took our first real vacation, to Disney World, when Lily was 6. Watching her face light up made every sacrifice worth it. Lily's artistic talents emerged. I encouraged it with supplies and museum visits. She'd spend hours creating elaborate pictures of our adventures, real and imagined. As I approached the 5-year anniversary of Lily's arrival, I reflected on how my life had transformed. My apartment filled with children's books, my schedule revolving around school events. None of it resembled the life I'd planned, yet I couldn't imagine wanting anything different. In a box under my bed, I kept letters I'd written to Amanda over the years, never sent. I wondered if she ever thought about Lily. "Look what I made for you, Nana," Lily called, running into the kitchen, holding a drawing of 2 figures, one tall, one small, surrounded by a large red heart. "That's beautiful, sweetie," I said, pulling her into a hug. "Is that us?" "Yes. That's you and me inside a heart, because we are a heart family, not a blood family. Miss Peterson told us that some families are made from blood, and some are made from heart, and heart families are just as real." "Miss Peterson is very wise," I said, blinking back tears. "We are definitely a heart family. And that's the best kind." Lily declared, with the absolute certainty only a 5-year-old can possess. I hung the picture on the refrigerator, a visual reminder of what we had built. For more years passed in a comfortable rhythm. Lily was 9, thriving in 4th grade, her passion for art and science keeping her curious mind engaged. She was resilient, thoughtful, with my sister's artistic talent but a steadiness of character that was entirely her own. Then the phone call came. An ordinary Tuesday evening, as I was helping Lily with her solar system science project. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. But some instinct made me answer. "Hello, Natalie." The voice was hesitant, familiar, yet strange after so many years. "It's Amanda." My hand tightened on the phone as I stepped into my bedroom, away from Lily's curious eyes. "Amanda? Where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," she said. "I'm actually in town. I was hoping we could meet." Her voice sounded steadier than I remembered. More mature. We arranged to meet at a cafe the next day while Lily was at school. I spent the night alternating between anxiety, anger, and a strange sense of relief that she was alive and well. The woman who walked into the cafe was almost unrecognizable. Amanda was 32 now, her hair a sophisticated bob, tailored blazer, expensive handbag. She looked healthy, put together. Worlds away from the troubled young mother who'd left her baby on my doorstep. "You look good," she said. "Really good." "You too," I replied, studying her face for traces of the sister I once knew. "You seem well." "I am," she said, twisting her hands nervously despite her composed appearance. "I've been sober for 7 years now. I completed rehab, got my degree in graphic design, and I'm married to a wonderful man named Thomas." She told me a story of recovery and redemption. After leaving Lily, she'd spiraled further into addiction, living on the streets of San Diego, before hitting rock bottom and checking into rehab. She met Thomas there, a counselor. They married. They had no children of their own. "I wasn't fit to be a mother then," she admitted. "I was using heavily during my pregnancy, though I tried to stop. I was terrified Lily would have health problems because of me. When she seemed okay, I thought I could handle it, but the postpartum depression hit hard, and I went back to using. The night I brought her to you, I had been using for days. I knew I was going to hurt her if I kept her. Leaving her with you was the only good decision I made during that time." I showed her photos on my phone of the childhood she had missed, Lily's first steps, first day of preschool, kindergarten, birthday parties, Halloween costumes, Christmas mornings. Amanda wiped tears as she swiped through evidence of a decade of absence. "She's beautiful," she whispered. "So beautiful and clearly happy. You've done an amazing job, Natalie." My emotions were chaotic, the old anger at her abandonment mixed with a new, cautious hope that perhaps Lily could have a relationship with her birth mother after all. We talked for hours, carefully navigating a decade of separation and the complex reality of our situation. "I would like to meet her," Amanda said finally. "If you think that would be okay." After careful consideration and consultation with a child psychologist, I arranged the first meeting. I prepared Lily, explaining that her birth mother had been very sick but was better now and wanted to meet her. I emphasized that nothing would change about our life together. The meeting took place at a children's museum. Lily was uncharacteristically shy, clinging to my hand. "Hello, Lily," Amanda said softly. "I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time." "Hi," Lily replied, half hiding. "Nana says you're her sister." "That's right. And I'm also your birth mother, which means you grew in my tummy before you were born." Lily nodded solemnly. "But Nana is my real mom, because she takes care of me and loves me and helps me with homework and makes me soup when I'm sick." Amanda's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled bravely. "That's absolutely right. You are very lucky to have such a wonderful mom." Over the next few months, Amanda became a cautious presence. supervised visits, gradually increasing time. Amanda was respectful, never pushing, always deferring to my parenting decisions. She brought thoughtful gifts. But then, after about 6 months, she dropped a bombshell. She and Thomas were moving permanently to our city. She'd accepted a job at a local design firm, and they'd bought a house just 20 minutes from us. "We want to be closer to Lily," she explained over coffee. "To be a regular part of her life." Warning bells rang in my head, but I pushed them aside. This could be positive for Lily, I reasoned, having her birth mother in her life in a healthy way. I invited Amanda and Thomas for dinner, wanting to get to know him. The dinner went well, on the surface. Thomas was charming, engaging. But something felt off about his two perfect responses, and the way he watched Amanda as she spoke, as if monitoring her. The other shoe dropped during dessert. "We've been thinking," Amanda said, glancing at Thomas for encouragement, "that now that we're settled and financially stable, I would like to be Lily's mother again. Legally, I mean." My fork clattered against my plate. "What exactly are you saying?" "We think it would be best for Lily to live with us," Thomas interjected smoothly. "Of course, you would have liberal visitation. You've done an amazing job raising her, Natalie. But a child belongs with her mother when possible." "I am her mother," I said, my voice low to avoid alerting Lily, who was showing Thomas her art supplies in the living room. "I have been her mother for 10 years while you were nowhere to be found." "Biologically, I am her mother," Amanda countered. "And I'm in a much better position now to provide for her. You're in a tiny apartment, working 2 jobs. We have a house with a yard and a top school district. Thomas makes 6 figures. She could have her own room, a college fund, vacations, everything children should have." "She already has everything she needs," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady, "including stability and security with the only parent she has ever known." The conversation ended uneasily. I sat in stunned silence, processing the threat to everything I had built with Lily. I had naively believed Amanda wanted to be a supportive presence, not to replace me entirely. The situation deteriorated further when my parents unexpectedly contacted me. They requested Sunday dinner, including Lily. When we arrived, Amanda and Thomas were already there, looking comfortable in my childhood home. "Your sister has told us everything," my father said after an uncomfortable meal where my mother fussed over Amanda as if she were the prodigal daughter returned in glory. About her recovery, her marriage, her desire to be a proper mother to Lily. "She has turned her life around," my mother added. "We are so proud of her." "You've been in contact with her? For how long?" I asked, pieces suddenly falling into place. My parents exchanged glances. "We reconnected about 3 years ago," my father admitted. "Amanda reached out when she completed her rehabilitation program." 3 years? I repeated numbly. "You've known where she was for 3 years and never told me?" "She asked us not to," my mother said defensively. "She wanted to get herself together first. And now that she has," my father continued, "we think it makes sense for Lily to be with her real mother. Amanda and Thomas can provide a traditional family environment with 2 parents. You've done your part, Natalie. But it's time to do what's best for Lily. Blood is blood," my mother added. "She deserves to be with her actual mother." The betrayal cut deep. Not only had Amanda returned with the intention of taking Lily, but my parents had apparently been supporting this plan for years, all while continuing their cold, critical visits to us. "We are leaving," I said, standing abruptly and reaching for Lily's hand. "Lily, put on your coat, please." "But we haven't had dessert," Lily protested, confused by the tension. "We'll get ice cream on the way home," I promised, helping her with her coat, avoiding eye contact with my family. As we drove home, Lily was uncharacteristically quiet. "Nana," she finally said in a small voice. "Grandma said I might go live with Aunt Amanda and Uncle Thomas. Is that true?" My heart broke at the anxiety in her voice. No, sweetie. You live with me. This is your home. But she said Aunt Amanda is my real mom, and I should be with her. I pulled the car over, unbuckled my seatbelt, and turned to face her fully. Listen to me, Lily. You and I are a family. We have been since the day you came to me. Nothing is going to change that. I promise you. Her bottom lip trembled. Cross your heart? Cross my heart, I said firmly, making the gesture that had sealed all our important promises since she was tiny. No one is going to take you away from me. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep, I found her in the throes of a nightmare, calling out, "No, no, don't take me." As I held her, soothing her back to peaceful slumber, a cold, hard determination settled in my chest. I would fight with everything I had to keep my promise to her. The certified letter arrived 3 weeks later. Amanda was petitioning for restoration of her parental rights and custody of Lily. The court date was set for 30 days later. Each legal term felt like a physical blow: biological parent, termination of guardianship, best interests of the minor child, home study, psychological evaluation. The words swam before my eyes as I realized the life we had built could be dismantled by a judge who knew nothing about our bond, our daily rhythms, our love. I emptied my savings account and took out a loan to pay the retainer for Julia Hernandez, an attorney specializing in family law. I won't sugarcoat this, Julia said, reviewing my case. Biological parents have strong rights, even absent ones. However, the length of time you've been Lily's caregiver and the circumstances of the abandonment work in your favor. 10 years is practically Lily's entire life. Judges are reluctant to disrupt a child's stable environment. We developed a strategy focusing on documenting the reality of our life together. I gathered school records, medical records, letters from Lily's teachers, neighbors, and friends. When Amanda's attorney's initial legal documents arrived, I discovered something that sent me reeling. My parents had provided affidavits supporting Amanda's petition, making claims that stunned me with their dishonesty. According to my mother's statement, I had manipulated the temporary situation to alienate Lily from her biological mother and extended family. My father claimed I had refused numerous requests for family visitation. Both painted Amanda as a young mother who made a mistake and deserved a second chance. This is completely false, I told Julia, my hands shaking. They visited only when it suited them, showed minimal interest in Lily, and were critical of me. They knew where Amanda was for years and never told me. Now they're painting me as some kind of villain who stole her child. Family custody battles often bring out the worst in people, Julia said gently. The good news is, these statements can be refuted. Do you have text messages, emails, other records? I did. I had saved them out of habit, never imagining they'd be evidence. The stress began to affect Lily. She started having trouble sleeping, became clingy, and her grades began to slip. Her teacher called to report that Lily had burst into tears when another child talked about moving. I arranged for her to see a child psychologist. Lily exhibits significant anxiety about potential separation from her primary caregiver, the psychologist reported. She associates her birth mother and that side of the family with insecurity and fear of abandonment. Forcing a custody change could result in significant emotional trauma. I rehired the private investigator. I asked him to look into Amanda and Thomas's claims about their stable, perfect life. His initial findings were concerning. While Amanda maintained sobriety, Thomas had a history that hadn't been disclosed, including a domestic violence charge that had been dismissed under unclear circumstances. The discovery process was grueling. Amanda's attorney requested extensive documentation of my finances, work history, even my dating life, trying to paint me as too busy, too poor, too distracted. Each demand felt like an invasion, forcing me to justify our life to strangers. Explaining the court case to Lily was one of the hardest conversations of my life. The judge has to listen to everyone and make a decision about what's best for you, I explained, sitting on her bed. Aunt Amanda wants you to live with her and Uncle Thomas, and I want you to continue living with me. The judge will decide. But I want to stay with you, Lily said, her eyes filling with tears. Why does a judge get to choose my mom? I already chose you. I know, sweetheart, I said, pulling her close. And I chose you, too. We're going to tell the judge that. And I will do everything I can to make sure we stay together. Will I have to talk to the judge? She asked, fear evident. Maybe, I answered honestly. But if you do, I'll be right there with you, and you just have to tell the truth about how you feel. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, I admitted. But being scared is okay. Sometimes we'll be scared together, and we'll get through this together, just like we have gotten through everything else. As the court date approached, I tried to maintain normalcy. We kept our movie nights, our park visits. I helped with homework, attended her art show, and pretended everything was fine while my insides twisted with anxiety. The timing of Amanda's return after exactly 10 years seemed suspicious. I mentioned it to the private investigator. That does seem convenient, he agreed. Let me look into whether anything changes legally at the 10-year mark. 2 days later, he called, urgency in his voice. We need to meet. I have found something significant. He arrived at my apartment with a folder. Waiting until Lily was engrossed in a TV show, he spread the documents on my kitchen table. Your sister's husband has been systematically searching for your niece's biological father, he explained, pointing to social media searches and database inquiries. Based on the timing, it appears they located him approximately 6 months ago, just before they contacted you. Why would they be looking for Lily's father? Amanda never even told me who he was. Because of this, he said, pointing to another document. The man they identified, Jason Reynolds, inherited a significant sum from his grandfather last year. We're talking multiple millions. If Amanda regains custody and establishes paternity, she could potentially claim substantial child support retroactively, plus secure future financial benefits for Lily that they would control as her guardians. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Amanda's sudden interest. The perfectly timed reappearance. The convenient redemption story. The expensive lawyer. It wasn't about wanting Lily back at all. It was about money. Can you document all of this? I asked, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. Already done, he replied. Along with evidence contradicting several claims in their court filings. Thomas's business is actually struggling, not thriving. Their perfect house is mortgaged to the hilt. And most importantly, I've documented evidence of your parents' knowledge of Amanda's whereabouts for years, directly contradicting their sworn statements. I compiled all the evidence into a sealed folder that would become the centerpiece of our case. When Julia reviewed it, her professional demeanor cracked slightly. This changes everything, she said. The judge needs to see this. The county courthouse was an imposing building. I wore my navy blue suit, wanting to project stability. Lily was with her art teacher, who kindly volunteered to keep her occupied. Amanda and Thomas sat across the aisle, immaculately dressed. My parents sat directly behind them, my mother clutching her purse, my father staring straight ahead with that jaw-set expression that meant his mind was made up. Judge Haraman, a woman in her 60s with silver hair, called the court to order. The court's primary concern is the best interest of the child, she stated firmly. We will hear testimony from all parties and review the evidence. I expect complete honesty and respect. Amanda testified first, telling a compelling story of youthful mistakes, hard-won sobriety, maternal longing. She described her marriage to Thomas as loving and stable, their home spacious, their finances more than adequate. She wept at appropriate moments, describing her regret at missing years of Lily's life. I made a terrible mistake when I was young and addicted, she said, dabbing at her eyes. But I have worked so hard to become someone worthy of being Lily's mother. I want to give her the life she deserves, with a mother and father who can provide everything she needs. Thomas followed, equally polished, describing their 4-bedroom house, excellent school district, and his financial ability to ensure Lily would never want for anything. We can offer Lily stability, a traditional family environment, and opportunities that simply are not possible in her current situation, he said confidently. While we respect what Natalie has done, we believe Lily belongs with her mother and in our home. My parents testified next, reinforcing Amanda's narrative. My mother spoke of her joy at Amanda's recovery and her belief that Lily would benefit from a relationship with her real mother. She claimed I had been resistant to family gatherings, keeping Lily separate. Natalie has always been stubborn, she said with a sigh. Once she decided Lily was hers, she shut out the rest of the family. We tried to be involved, but she made it so difficult. My father's testimony was briefer, but equally damaging. Blood is blood, he stated, echoing our dinner conversation. A child belongs with her real mother when that is possible. Natalie has done her duty, but it is time for Lily to be with Amanda. Their testimonies felt like physical blows. Each false statement, each twisted truth, another wound from the people who should have supported me. I clutched my hands in my lap, focusing on composure for Lily's sake. Amanda's attorney then questioned me aggressively about my finances, my work schedule, my personal life, attempting to portray me as barely managing. Is it not true that you work 2 jobs to make ends meet? He asked. I work as a school nurse full-time and do telehealth consultation some evenings after Lily is asleep to build her college fund, I corrected. And you live in a 2-bedroom apartment rather than a house? Yes, I replied, in a neighborhood Lily knows well, close to her school and friends. Have you maintained any serious relationship since becoming Lily's guardian? My primary focus has been providing stability for Lily, rather than dating. The questioning continued, designed to make my loving, stable home seem inadequate compared to Amanda's materially advantaged one. When my turn to present evidence came, the energy in the courtroom shifted. Lily's current and former teachers testified about her academic progress, social development, and the strong, secure attachment she clearly had to me. In my 20 years of teaching, I have rarely seen a parent as involved and attentive as Natalie, her current teacher stated firmly. Lily is thriving under her care. She is confident, kind, and academically motivated. These are all signs of a child who feels secure and loved. The school counselor provided professional testimony about the potential psychological impact of removing Lily from the only stable home she had ever known. Lily identifies Natalie as her mother in every meaningful sense of the word, she explained. Forcing a change in her primary caregiver at this stage could result in significant attachment issues, anxiety, depression. The bond between them is profound and should not be disrupted. Finally, it was my turn to testify. I spoke from the heart about the 10 years of mothering Lily. From those first terrifying days of learning to care for an infant, to watching her grow into the amazing 10-year-old she now was. I described our routines, our traditions, our chosen family. I explained how I had always kept the door open for Amanda, saving mementos, speaking of her birth mother positively despite her absence. I have loved Lily as my own from the moment she came into my life, I concluded, my voice steady despite the emotion. Not because she is my biological child, but because she is my child in every way that matters. I have been there for every fever, every nightmare, every school project, every skin knee, and every triumph. I am not perfect, and I cannot offer her the material advantages that Amanda and Thomas claim they can. But I can offer her the security of knowing she is loved unconditionally by the parent who chose to be there every single day of her life. Then came the moment we had prepared for. Julia presented the sealed folder of evidence to the judge. As Judge Harriman reviewed the contents, her expression changed from professional neutrality to visible concern. She looked up sharply, first at Amanda and Thomas, then at my parents. Counsel approached the bench, she said. After a brief, intense discussion with the attorneys, she turned to Amanda. Miss Morgan, are you aware of the contents of this folder? Amanda shook her head, looking confused. No, Your Honor. It contains evidence directly contradicting several key claims in your petition, the judge continued, including documentation that your husband has been actively searching for Lily's biological father, who recently came into a substantial inheritance. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Amanda's face paled as she turned to look at Thomas, whose expression had hardened. Furthermore, the judge continued, there is evidence that Mr. and Mrs. Parker, she nodded toward my parents, have been in regular contact with you for approximately 3 years, directly contradicting their sworn testimony that they were unaware of your whereabouts until recently. My father shifted uncomfortably. My mother stared at her hands. Finally, there are social media posts and private messages suggesting financial motives for this custody petition, rather than the concern for Lily's well-being that has been presented to this court. The judge turned her gaze directly to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, did you knowingly provide false testimony to this court regarding your knowledge of your daughter Amanda's whereabouts? My father cleared his throat. We were trying to protect her privacy during her recovery, Your Honor. That is not what I asked, Judge Harriman said sharply. Did you knowingly make false statements under oath? We may have misremembered some details, my mother offered weakly. Perjury is a serious offense, the judge reminded them before turning to Amanda. Miss Morgan, were you aware that your husband was searching for Lily's biological father for potential financial gain? Amanda's composure cracked. Thomas handled the legal aspects. He said it would strengthen our case to have the biological father's information. And did he mention the inheritance? The judge pressed. Not specifically, Amanda said, avoiding her gaze. Thomas leaned forward. Your Honor, if I may explain, Mr. Richards, Judge Harriman advised, I suggest you confer with your attorney before speaking further. The evidence suggests potential legal issues beyond the scope of this custody hearing. The courtroom atmosphere had transformed completely. What had begun as Amanda's carefully orchestrated performance had unraveled into exposed lies and questionable motives. Judge Harriman called a brief recess. When court resumed, her expression was grave. Having reviewed the evidence and testimony, I find several disturbing elements in the petitioner's case. What appears on the surface to be a mother seeking to reunite with her child seems, upon closer examination, to be motivated at least in part by financial considerations related to the biological father's recent inheritance. She addressed Amanda directly. Miss Morgan, while I believe you may have genuine feelings for your daughter, the timing and circumstances of your petition raise significant concerns about your motivations and judgment. The evidence suggests you have misrepresented several key facts to this court. Turning to me, her expression softened slightly. Miss Parker, the evidence clearly shows you have provided a loving, stable home for Lily throughout her life. The testimony of educational professionals and the documentation of your consistent care are compelling evidence of your commitment to her well-being. With a final look at her notes, Judge Harriman delivered her ruling. It is the finding of this court that the best interests of the minor child, Lily Morgan, are served by maintaining her current living situation with her aunt and legal guardian, Natalie Parker. The petition for change of custody is denied. The relief that flooded through me was so intense, I nearly collapsed in my chair. Julia squeezed my hand in silent congratulation as the judge continued. Miss Morgan will be granted limited, supervised visitation, to be arranged through family services, with the potential for expanded visitation in the future if deemed appropriate. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, she added, looking sternly at my parents. The court takes note of your apparent willingness to provide misleading testimony in this case. You are admonished that such behavior undermines the legal process designed to protect children like your granddaughter. As the formal proceedings concluded, I sat quietly, processing the outcome. We had won. Lily would stay with me, where she belonged. The nightmare was over. Amanda approached me as I gathered my things, her eyes red from crying. I never wanted to hurt her, she said softly. Or you. It just got complicated. It didn't have to be, I replied, too emotionally drained for anger. You could have just been honest from the beginning about wanting to know her. She nodded, looking down. I know. Thomas thought. It doesn't matter what he thought, I said. I should have known better. I simply nodded, unwilling to absolve her in that moment, and walked out of the courtroom toward the sunlight and the freedom to continue being Lily's mother without the shadow of uncertainty hanging over us. The moment I picked up Lily from her art teacher's house was one I will never forget. She ran to me, scanning my face anxiously for clues. What did the judge say? Do I still get to live with you? I knelt down to her level, taking both her hands in mine. Yes, sweetheart, I said, my voice thick with emotion. The judge said you stay with me. We are still a family, just like always. Her entire body sagged with relief as she threw her arms around my neck. You promised. You cross your heart promised, and you kept it. I will always keep my promises to you, I said, holding her tightly, breathing in the scent of her hair, allowing myself